G'day, I'm Chris and welcome back to Flat Tank Journey. Welcome back to the never-ending saga of these mudguards. Well, it's not a saga really. It's just got to be a labour of love. So I'm going to sand a bit and talk a bit, and then we'll have a look at what else I've been up to. I've had a couple of days off, if I'm honest. I went at it pretty hard, and last week you saw the video of my fuel caps. And I have to say I'm pretty chuffed with the fuel caps. They came up probably better than I'd hoped for. I didn't know that I could get them to that plausible a level. Yeah, I didn't know. It turned out really, really well. I don't have a lot of money in them. I know they're not original. Maybe some people don't approve, I'm not sure. But you know what? If the next owner of the little round tank and the wedge tank doesn't like them, they can hunt out some originals and that'll be okay. So that was really cool. And thanks to the people who reached out from all over the world. Saskatchewan, I think. Canada, places in Canada. The UK, New Zealand. Not many Aussies. You're only 25% of my audience are here at home. So to the rest of you, hey, thanks. Shout out from where you are in the world. It's fascinating to think that a weirdo in his shed in Australia is talking to people all over the world. So that's really cool. So the guards. I've been working on them for about 3 weeks, I suppose. Or this might be the 3rd week, I think. You're watching this in about real time. And some of the footage you're going to watch in a minute is from the last week or 10 days. Because filling and painting and sanding, you've got to leave it alone in between coats. You can't just keep priming and sanding and filling all the time. You have to leave it alone to harden and to go off. So it's just turning cool here. It's mid-April in Australia and we're just getting on for what I consider to be real autumn. And, you know, it's starting to get cold, so you can't really just keep painting. So got to be a bit careful. How do I know? I've got it wrong before and ended up with crow's feet and paint that peeled, and I'm not all that patient. So the footage is over the last couple of weeks and that's really cool. I've had a really good result with fuel taps that I'm pretty pleased with. Again, for the purist, look away. They're not originals at all. But I think they're period correct-ish. I emphasise the correct-ish. And I think they'll look all right. So I'm going to head on, and so I've got what you're looking at here is in front of what you're about to look at. There's a couple of coats of primer and filler and putty to go on. And then by the time you've looked at all that, I've done a bit of this and we'll come back and see where I'm up to. In the meantime, I hope you enjoy it. Get something out of it. So I'm going to try and talk and work a bit, which isn't really my great forte. I'm back with what they call blade putty and going over the front guard again. And I've got too much putty, and the more you put on, the more you have to take off, and I don't like it. But, you know, it is what it is. I need to go over this again with putty and just keep working at it, because they have a mountain of highs and lows and little imperfections. It's going to take me a long time. In the real world, you know, if you're doing this for a living, you'd be better off to sell the original guards and buy repops. And I was talking to the bloke who makes the repops, and we both agreed that if you're not paying for your own time, then originals are cool, because, you know, you got original guards. But if you've got to pay for someone else's time, then there's an argument that really it might not be worth it. That you've got to spend more time on the guards than they're worth. It's an interesting thought process. But for me, my time's not worth anything. So I'm just going to chip away at these and see if I can constantly work at taking the high spots, constantly work at filling the low spots. That's the thing I've got to get a grip of. I'm always sanding what I think are high spots, but I'm not. I'm filling the low spots. So leave it with me. I'm going to have a crack at this for a little while. And then, of course, I have to leave it alone for a little while. I'll bring you back. You're looking at the front guard, and it's got a mountain of blade putty or spot putty or whatever you want smeared over it. Over the filler, I'm reasonably generous with it. It isn't hard to sand, and most of it is not on very thickly, and the thick portions need taken off anyway. I just find that if you continually go back over it, trying to smooth it out, you make a mess of it. This piece, one pass down the middle, might be two passes, and it's smooth. Any more than that, you end up with a mess. Let's go down the other end of the workshop and see the rear guard. The rear guard, the same. I try to take one big pass down the middle. Now you can see where the edges have got lumpy bits. The lumpy bits will sand off. It's the middle bit that has some high and low ridges. But if I go back over this again and again and again, all it does is lift up and start to tear. And you might be able to see that down the front here. You end up with yucky bits. Actually, that's the back. But for me, and I'm not a bodywork person, it's a long, long process of getting really tired old guards into some sort of shape. Actually, this is the back. It's the back of the rear guard. But you know what? By tomorrow morning, that's going to be ready for me to take some 120 grit to, and they'll come up all right, and I'll look at them again. I'll put them back into primer, and I'll go over them with a fine-tooth comb, looking for more spots and more marks. And maybe I can already see one, a ridge just there. Maybe. We'll see how it all sands down, and I'll let you know. Getting later in the day, probably shouldn't be painting, but I am anyway. This is primer putty, or primer filler it's called. And I've got it on. This is a front guard. Now, I've still got horrible mess down around the rivets, and I'm losing the battle there. I thought I'd done a better job than that. The rest of the guard, though, I feel like I've made a step forward. It looks good. I can see a mark just here. There's some other little lumps and bumps, but overall, I've made a monumental leap forward. Still bad down the bottom. Well, not bad. It's improving. I hope it improves a bit more. But overall, not too bad. Got a high spot left here with some little marks. Maybe you'll see them, maybe you won't. But it's an improvement. Going to leave it alone for a few days. Come and have a look at the rear guard. Right, the rear guard's hanging in the spray booth, and it's definitely too cool out here. But nonetheless, I get it. The back of the rear guard has come up really well, and I'm actually 3/4 pleased. I've got a ridge just here that I can see, and a couple more marks up here where the pack rack drags on the guard, and I may have a ridge just there that needs filled, I suspect, because it'll be a low spot rather than a high spot of filler. We'll see anyway when it's dry. The sides, they look pretty good. Very happy with that. Coming down to where the guard goes into the frame. Now it's a bit beaten up, and it's a bit dark for you to see, but it's not too bad. and it's not a highly visible part of the guard. A leap forward, but not a leap far enough at this stage. Still got a bit to go. Getting towards the end of the day, and I've been doing a little bit of painting and wet sanding, so if I'm covered in dirt, that's what I've been doing. The postman arrived today, which is good, because a little while ago, you might not be able to see it, I ordered fuel taps from China. Yes, I know that maybe they're not the best quality, I'm not sure. But fuel taps need made somewhere, and I figure shops that have them get them from somewhere. So I went and ordered some, let me get this right, quarter BSP. Yeah, that's right, quarter BSP to quarter outlet spigot thing, which when it arrives is actually quarter with a fitting on it. And I suppose that's okay, all things considered. I imagined the bottom of it was different. And I will bring you down to the bench and show you. So I've got a pair of those, and they look pretty good. I'm not unhappy with them. Have I got these right? Or have I swapped them around? And I ordered, let me get this right again. I'm a bit confused. I ordered 1/8 BSP to, I thought, to a quarter outlet. What arrived was different. What arrived was one quarter BSP. I'll get this right eventually. Quarter BSP with an 1/8 BSP fitting that screws onto the top of it to allow you to screw it into an 1/8 fitting. So in essence, I still have a 3/4. I still have a quarter BSP fitting, but with the 1/8 on the top. Yeah, because it's threaded. Not exactly what I wanted, and doesn't work exactly the way I wanted it to, but it's possibly usable. The big deal is for me though, these things were $7 each, including postage. I think I paid $30 including postage for 4 brass fuel taps. So 2 of them are perfectly what I wanted, and 2 of them are not exactly what I wanted. Come to the bench and I'll show you what I've got, and we can decide whether it's any good or whether it's trash. There we go. Quarter BSP, and then it came with a screw-on barbed piece that you might silver solder a brass tubing to. Perfect. That's on, that's off. That's on, off. Really simple. The other one, okay, not quite as simple, and it's actually made to go that way. And that's quarter BSP. And then at the other end, they've screwed this on. I can leave that there and screw on a fitting to the other end. But you've actually got the tap upside down, in theory. That screws into the tank, and this is where the fitting is. But this piece should butt up against the tank. I don't know whether I can turn it upside down the other way, but it wouldn't matter. You still have to screw that fitting on. And let me get a spanner and I'll take that apart. I'm back. So I can screw that fitting off, and that's a solid fitting. 1/8 BSP does screw into the tank, and I've got one screwed in, and you can see that. It's screwed in. But the what I'd call the nut flange that's supposed to be up against the tank would then be at the bottom. I don't really like that. I suppose I could go like that and do that and do that, so that I'd have 1/8 BSP at the top and a 1/4 inch pipe at the bottom. It's probably better than what I did here. Let me get that out. Of course, I only put everything in finger tight, and then when you go to get it out, it just won't come out, will it? So yeah, I think it was a success. Certainly 2 of them are exactly what I ordered. And I think these 2 are what I ordered, but not what I thought I was going to get. And you've got to appreciate you're dealing with people whose first language is not English, and you're just clicking a button and you're hoping like hell it works out. So sometimes I get things and think, oh, that didn't really work. And sometimes I get things where I think, you know what, I can live with that. Now, for $15 for both of those, I think I can live with them. What do you think? I don't think they're going to leak. I really don't. They're of a period where I think they're going to look okay. I'm going to screw them into the tank. They don't, perhaps the fitting up at the tank is a little, would we call it clumsy? But I think it'll look really okay once I get all the tubes connected to it. I'll get all sorted out at a later stage. So there they are. That's a couple that I already had. I think they look okay. I think they need fibre washers and tightened in properly, but I think as a pair, they look pretty good, and I haven't got any real issues with them. But it is a little bit clumsy up here. The other 2, I think they're going to screw in just fine into the wedge tank. And these 2, I don't even know where I got this one. Actually, I do. I think I bought it in the UK, and I think it was really expensive. I'm going to say I think it was $35 or $40. Yes, it's a different piece of kit. It's got a spring in it, not a spring washer. It's perhaps twice as heavy. Different thing. And that's an original I had. But, you know, I think for the money, they look really good, and I'm happy with them, and I'm going to push on. So that was an AliExpress purchase. Vintage motorcycle fuel taps, or petcocks was the description I think I used, and I ended up with those. If you haven't got originals, does it matter that you buy a very high-end reproduction that costs you a lot, or you buy a reproduction that looks right, and I still think will be just fine? Yeah, does it matter that I, reduce the cost by, that would be 60 or 70 bucks compared to 15? I don't know. I think it's a good result. I want to bring you in close to these fuel taps to let you have a really good look at them. There's the 1/4 BSPs. You can see the difference in the backs of them compared to the better quality one. But, you know what? Not bad. Here's the 1/8 in the tank. Now, it's just loosely there because I can't stand the fact that the fuel tap would be on the wrong way. So my OCD makes me just straighten everything up. I think they look okay. You see what I mean about this being clumsy with this adapter piece. This one, sitting really neatly, looks the biz. That would be the fuel. That would be the fuel turned on. And the other way would be with the fuel turned off. 90 degrees either way. So it kind of works, and it kind of works on the tank, and I'm going to try it. That's the bottom line. I'm going to look for tubing for pipe, and I'm gonna get these fitted probably after I've painted, but we'll see. In the meantime, that's the fuel taps. In the warmth of the day, I've brought these guards outside. I do feel like I'm winning the battle, but only just. The front guard, I've sanded the nose way more thoroughly and put fresh primer on it. I didn't bother putting any filler on it because I needed to sand back the filler that was on it. I then went over and spotted holes. Now the more you look, the more you see. Ridges, holes, humps, bumps, lumps. I'm not doing a great job of it, and I can see more as I come out into the sun. The rear guard, well, it's not too bad. The back of it, just a few little spots, and they look worse than they are. Up here where the pack rack attaches, I've given it a big swipe, trying to get the low spots filled. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. You can see the low spot there and there, and I think there's another one just here. There's also one here where it's rubbed. Other than that, these are actually small marks that I've had a fair go at, and you know, I've got a fair bit of fill on. Actually, it's not, it's micro thin. Over here in the spray booth, I've got the tank. So I've put a dust coat of filler on that. I sanded it first to get any residue from the tank liner off. And then I've given a dust of primer, and then I'm going to go over it and attempt filling it. I've made a bit of a hash of that. I got a bit of a run in it, and then I touched the run and made a bit of a mess. But anyway, we'll give it a sand and a fill, or a fill and a sand, and I reckon it's going to be pretty good. It's actually pretty straight. Come back into the shed. Now, I appreciate you shouldn't spray inside. I get why you get overspray on things. It all makes a mess and a whole range of issues. But here's the pack rack. So I old schooled it with the pack rack this morning. I used a wire brush on the bench grinder, and I sat here with sandpaper, 80 grit, and went over the rusty bits and over the rusty bits and over the rusty bits, to the point that I wiped it off with wet and dry, and I'm happy with it. And I think it's going to be just fine. It would be better if it was blasted, but not much. And what have I got into it? Well, half a piece of 80 grit paper, or a tiny square of it, and some black enamel paint. I've also got some headstock stars drying there as well. I think the saving on blasting and priming at a professional place is worth doing, and it's worth doing myself. So we're pushing on. Before we wind up, I thought I'd show you where am I today. So this is where I'm at. I have sanded back all the filler, and you're looking at the front guard firstly, closest to you, and then the rear guard behind it, of course. Now the front guard, the nose of it is coming up really nicely. I'm not unhappy with it at this stage. I'm not calling it good, but it's nearly there. The back of the rear guard, I think it's getting really close to be as good as I'm going to get it. I have a certain skill set, and that's, you got to work with it. The working down the rear guard, there's a couple little high spots or low spots, but getting really good. Now the bottom, I've still got a mark where you can see it just above the hole, and I'm disappointed with that. I don't know why, but anyway, the rest of it's not too bad. The back of the front guard, again, few lumps and bumps that, I don't know, I'm getting close to calling good, but I think I'll have another go at. The rest of it is good, so it's the bottom 150mm, 6 inches of the front guard that's not great. The rest of it is all right. And I've got about 1 or 2 spots on the rear guard. So I'm moving in the right direction. That's pretty good. Come back to the bench and we'll wind this thing up. Last thing I want to show you is the tank. So I put a little bit of primer on the tank last week. It was already in an etch. I put a primer filler over it, and then I have just sat here and been over it with spot putty. And you know what? It's pretty good. Now, I have chosen to do the neck, or the bit of the tank that the bar goes in. There was a seam just here, and I didn't hate the seam, but I didn't like the seam. And then there's a seam down each side. So obsessive compulsive me just bunked a little bit of filler in there. I don't actually know that it's needed. I'm pretty sure there would have been a visible seam in an original. Of course, this was remade, original ends with a new centre to it. So I'm probably being a bit OCD about the tank, but it doesn't matter. That's me. That's just who I am. That's what I've achieved in the last probably 2 or 3 weeks, broken down into little chunks. I've been hard at it, and then I've had a few days off because I got a bit sick of it. And for me, this is a hobby. I'm meant to enjoy it, and I have to keep telling myself that. It's meant to be a hobby. I hope you've got a hobby. I hope you've got a little round tank or something else going in your life. Get out in the shed and have a good time. In the meantime, have a good weekend.